It started on a foggy October night in the small town of Ridgewood, Minnesota, a quiet community where nothing ever truly happened. Streetlights flickered in the mist, and the sound of rain tapped lightly on windows. No one knew that by morning, Ridgewood would wake up to its darkest nightmare. At exactly 11:47 p.m., Emily Carter, a 27-year-old nurse, left her late-night shift at Ridgewood General Hospital. She texted her roommate that she was on her way home, a message that would be her last. Emily lived just a 10-minute walk away. She never made it back. The next morning, police found her phone lying on the sidewalk near the old Maple Bridge, its screen cracked, flashlight still on. Nearby, they discovered one of her earrings, a streak of mud, and a note handwritten on lined paper. It read, "Did you hear me? Whisper your name." Detective Mark Holloway, a 20-year veteran of the Ridgewood Police Department, arrived on the scene. At first glance, he thought it was a simple missing person case, but the note, that strange, chilling message, made it feel different. Holloway knew this wasn't random. For 2 days, the entire town searched. Volunteers combed through fields, rivers, and abandoned lots. Flyers covered telephone poles, social media filled with Emily's smiling face. But on the third night, everything changed. Just before midnight, a jogger called 911 after spotting something under the bridge. Police arrived to find Emily's body half buried in mud, her hair tangled, her expression frozen in silent fear. There were no signs of sexual assault, no defensive wounds, no struggle. Only a faint bruise on her neck and something strange carved into the skin behind her ear, the number 1. The autopsy revealed an even more disturbing detail, a small trace of soot inside her ear canal. It was as if someone had whispered directly into her ear before she died. Detective Holloway couldn't shake the feeling that the killer wanted to be heard, not just seen. Someone had spoken to her before killing her and left a message for him to find. The media quickly swarmed Ridgewood, calling it the Whisper Murder. But Holloway wasn't convinced it was a one-time killing. He'd seen enough crime scenes to know killers who leave notes almost always return. 2 weeks later, another note appeared. This time, it wasn't found near a body. It was delivered directly to the Ridgewood Police Department. A plain white envelope, no return address. Inside, the same handwriting, the same message. "Can you hear me now, detective?" The letter was smeared with ash, and inside was a single Polaroid photo, a blurry image of a woman sitting in a car taken from behind. The photo's timestamp read 11:45 p.m., the same time Emily disappeared. Holloway froze. The photo wasn't of Emily, it was someone new. He called for an immediate lockdown across the town, warning residents not to walk alone after dark. Patrols increased and curfews were put in place, but fear had already gripped Ridgewood. No one felt safe anymore. Meanwhile, forensic experts tried to trace the soot found in Emily's ear canal. Lab results revealed it came from burnt paper mixed with tobacco ash, something unusual, something deliberate. As the detective reviewed the case files that night, a young officer burst into his office. "Sir, you need to see this," he said, holding a new envelope. Inside was another note. Short, almost playful. "Listen closely. The second one will scream." The Whisper Killer had just announced his next move. And this time, Detective Holloway knew he wasn't chasing a madman. He was playing a game. 3 days after the second letter arrived, the silence in Ridgewood shattered again. It was a Sunday morning when a couple walking their dog along Hollow Creek Trail found a woman lying face down beside the water. She was barefoot, her coat neatly folded beside her, as if she'd placed it there herself. The woman was identified as Rebecca Moore, a 34-year-old school teacher who lived just 5 blocks from Emily Carter's apartment. There were no signs of robbery, no forced struggle, only that same haunting mark, a small number 2 carved just below her ear. Detective Holloway arrived on the scene before sunrise. As he studied the body, he noticed something new. Rebecca's mouth was slightly open, and inside, tucked beneath her tongue, was a tiny piece of paper, written in the same handwriting as before. "She couldn't hear me. Can you?" The killer wasn't hiding anymore. He was performing. Holloway's gut twisted. Two women, both local, both found late at night, and both with the same eerie signature. He realized he wasn't dealing with a random murderer. This was someone methodical, patient, and far too comfortable playing games. He ordered a team to compare the handwriting on both notes. The lab confirmed it was the same person. Forensics found faint traces of soot under Rebecca's nails, the same type found in Emily's ear. But the real clue came from surveillance footage pulled from a nearby gas station. At exactly 11:41 p.m., Rebecca's car drove past the camera, and 20 seconds later, another vehicle followed. A dark gray van, missing a rear license plate. The van's windows were tinted, and its headlights were dimmed, almost as if the driver didn't want to be seen. By now, the press had named him the Whisper Killer. The story spread across the country. Every major network covered the case. But for Ridgewood, the fame meant nothing. The fear was real. People stopped going out after dark. Streets emptied before midnight. And every time the wind howled through the trees, someone swore they heard a whisper. Meanwhile, Holloway's team built a psychological profile. The killer was likely a man in his 30s or 40s, intelligent, obsessive, and deeply fascinated with control. His whispering ritual suggested he wanted his victims to hear him, to know he was there, right before they died. Then came the third letter. Delivered directly to Holloway's desk, the envelope smelled faintly of smoke. Inside was another Polaroid, this time of a teenage girl sitting alone at a bus stop. On the back, the killer had written, "You're getting closer, detective. She'll be the loudest one yet." Holloway's heart sank. He didn't know the girl's name, but he knew she was next. He immediately ordered all officers to monitor public bus stops. But Ridgewood was surrounded by miles of back roads, and there were dozens of stops across town. He couldn't cover them all. That night, at exactly 11:46 p.m., a call came in. A witness had seen a dark van near Oak Ridge Station, headlights off. Units rushed to the location, but by the time they arrived, it was too late. The girl, 15-year-old Anna Green, was gone. Only her phone remained, recording. The audio lasted 31 seconds. At first, just the sound of footsteps, then breathing, then a voice. A man whispering softly, "Don't scream, just listen." The clip ended there. For the first time, Holloway heard the killer's voice, calm, cold, almost gentle. The Whisper Killer had spoken not just to his victims, but to everyone watching. And as Holloway stared at the evidence board filled with photos and letters, he realized something terrifying. Every murder had happened exactly 1 week apart at 11:47 p.m.
The night of October 28th crept in with heavy rain, the kind that drowned out even the faintest sound, except one. The ticking clock on Detective Holloway's desk struck 11 p.m. He knew he had less than an hour before the killer would strike again. Every murder had followed the same pattern. Friday night, around 11:47 p.m., a woman alone, a whisper, a note, and the number carved behind her ear. 3 victims so far, Emily, Rebecca, and Anna, all gone within 3 weeks. But this time, Holloway wasn't waiting for the next body. He was setting a trap. Through traffic footage, the task force had finally traced the gray van to a storage facility on the edge of town, Unit 47, ironically matching the killer's signature number. When officers arrived earlier that day, the unit was empty except for a single item, an old reel-to-reel tape recorder, still running static. It wasn't what they expected, but when the tech team played it back, the room went silent. The tape contained recordings of each victim's final moments, the whispers, the breathing, and a calm voice saying the same words every time. "Do you hear me now?" Holloway felt sick. The killer wasn't just playing games, he was documenting them. But the final tape, the one still half recorded, was different. It ended mid-sentence, as if interrupted. Holloway heard a faint sound in the background, a clock chiming 3 times, and the distant creak of a door. They traced the audio signature to an abandoned church off Ridgewood Lane, long closed after a fire years ago. The fire damage had left the interior blackened, perfect for someone obsessed with soot and ash. By 11:30 p.m., Holloway and 2 officers surrounded the church. Rain poured down, thunder rolling across the woods. Flashlights cut through the darkness as Holloway pushed open the rusted doors. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of smoke and mold. Candles flickered along the aisles, and in the center of the altar sat that same reel-to-reel tape recorder, running. A voice echoed softly from the speakers. "Welcome, Detective. You finally heard me." Then came another sound. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, from behind the pews. Holloway turned his light and froze. A man stood there, tall, wearing a rain-soaked coat, his face hidden behind a surgical mask smeared with ash. In his gloved hand, he held a small silver device, a voice amplifier. "You're late, Detective. She's already listening." At that moment, Holloway noticed movement near the altar. A young woman tied to a chair, duct tape over her mouth, trembling. The killer had chosen his next victim and was waiting for Holloway to witness it. "Step away from her," Holloway shouted, gun raised. The man tilted his head slightly. "You don't get it, Detective. They all wanted to be heard." He pressed the button on the amplifier, and the speakers around the church came alive, playing fragments of his previous murders, the whispers, the pleas, the final breaths. Holloway's pulse raced. He needed to end this before another life was lost. As the killer reached toward the woman, Holloway fired, one clean shot through the shoulder. The man collapsed, the amplifier shattering beside him. Officers rushed in, cutting the victim free. When they pulled the mask from the killer's face, Holloway froze. It was Ethan Cole, a former audio technician at Ridgewood General Hospital, the same place where Emily Carter once worked. Fired 2 years earlier for stalking a nurse. In his storage unit, investigators found hundreds of hours of tapes, whispers, breathing, and recordings of strangers taken without their knowledge. When questioned, Ethan confessed only one thing before being led away. "They all ignored me, Detective, but when I whispered, they finally listened." The whisper killer was caught, but Ridgewood would never be the same. For weeks, people swore they still heard him, late at night, on the wind, in the hum of their radios. And though the case was closed, Holloway knew one truth that still haunted him. Evil doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers.